And today's community moment is going to be done by the Vice President of the Houston Oasis Board of Directors, Vic Wang. So let's welcome Vic to the podium this time.
Okay. All right, thanks, Mike. Just get this ready real quick. Okay, so, morning, everyone. Okay, so how's that? Is that better? So yeah, a couple of weeks ago, I was a guest on a podcast called The Nuns. Nuns spelled N-O-N-E-S. In fact, if some of y'all may have saw me sprinting out of this room immediately after Oasis a couple of weeks ago, or you might have saw me camped out in the lobby with my laptop. So if you did, that was why. So The Nuns, it's a weekly podcast co-hosted by Shayra and Lalandra. Lalandra, some of you may remember as being a guest here at Oasis just a few months ago when she was here along with her husband, the secular activist Arn Ra. Well, on this particular podcast, we discussed the topics of creationism, evolution, homeschooling, and a man named Ken Ham. For those not familiar with Ken Ham, suffice to say he is probably the world's most prominent advocate of young earth creationism. In other words, he is a proponent of the idea that the universe is less than 7,000 years old, that dinosaurs coexisted with humanity, and that the biblical account of creation is, and every last bit of the Bible for that matter, is literally and absolutely true in every aspect. And not only does he advocate these beliefs, he actually takes particular interest in tailoring his message towards indoctrinating young children with those beliefs. And he does so with tremendous financial backing through his organization, Answers in Genesis. So I'll be sharing some of what about on that podcast, as well as the reaction that it generated afterwards. But first, I'd just like to give you a little bit more background on Ken Ham and just what kind of organization it is that he operates. Some of y'all may be familiar with him from seeing the Bill Maher documentary, Religulous. So here's a clip of his appearance in that.
I still don't understand why it's important for there to have been a situation on Earth where man coexisted with dinosaurs. Only really in the Flintstones.
Is someone talking about me?
And that Raquel Welch movie, does man ever coexist with dinosaurs? Why is that important for your salvation or your morality?
If you're saying this part over here, it says God made land animals and man on the same day is not true, then ultimately, why should I believe this bit over here? God is an infinite God who is working in ways we don't always understand.
You don't think that's a cop-out?
He is God. Are you God?
No.
All right, so that's just a little bit of a taste of Ken Ham. Let's see here. So, according to the official statement of faith of Answers in Genesis, no apparent, perceived, or claimed evidence in any field, including history and chronology, can be valid if it contradicts the scriptural record. So, as Arn Ra recently described it, it's essentially an oath never to admit when they're wrong. Consequently, it is the most dishonest position it is possible to have. Here is a photo of Answers in Genesis' $27 million creation museum, which features life-sized animatronic dinosaurs and humans and attracts hundreds of thousands of visitors per year, all dedicated to convincing the public that the universe is less than 7,000 years old. Let's see. Lisa Park, a professor of paleontology at the University of Akron, who happens to also be an elder in the Presbyterian Church, had this to say after her visit. I think it's very bad science and even worse theology. And the theology is far more offensive to me. I find it a malicious manipulation of the public. British journalist A.A. Gill reported after his visit, "This place doesn't just take on evolution, it squares off with geology, anthropology, paleontology, history, chemistry, astronomy, zoology, biology, and good taste. It directly and boldly contradicts most onomies and all ologies, including most theology." Okay, here is the first phase of a planned expansion to the Creation Museum. $25 million replica, full-sized replica of Noah's Ark, for which they have thus far raised half of the total cost that it will cost to build. Here's a picture from a children's book authored by Ken Ham, entitled Dinosaurs in Eden, Tracing the Mystery Through History. And yes, those are people writing on dinosaurs that you can't see in the back.
They were domesticated too.
Okay, here we go. So some of you may have seen or heard about this 4th grade science quiz which went viral over the internet just a few weeks ago. It's from a private Christian school in South Carolina. Actually, when it first came out, there was a lot of discussion about whether it was actually real or a hoax. It has since been confirmed that it is very real. Now, while this quiz was not directly produced by Answers in Genesis, all of its content was taken directly from the teaching materials, down to the exact wording of the questions and answers. In fact, Ken Ham himself described this very quiz as, and I quote, "scientifically sound answers to questions of eternal significance." Now, for whatever reason, almost all of the attention that this quiz generated was focused on page 1. Much less attention was given to page 2. So, you can see right there, whom should we always trust? God, what is the history book of the universe, Bible. Now, but what I find actually most interesting is actually the last question. The next time someone, in case you can't read it, it says, the next time someone says the earth is billions or millions of years old, what can you say? Answer, were you there? And it is exactly the line Ken Ham teaches children to use when it comes to the notion that the universe just might be older than 7,000 years old. And in fact, I'll let you hear from him himself.
And here we are with all the dinosaurs and Adam and Eve living happily together. Say, Mr. Ham, how long ago was that? Well, if you add up all the dates in the Bible, it only comes to about 6,000 years. And I know boys and girls say, Mr. Ham, wait a minute, what about the scientists that say dinosaurs lived millions of years ago? I want to teach you something very special this morning, something from the book of Job. You know what God taught a man called Job? He said, Job, where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? In other words, where were you? Were you there when I made the earth, Job? And I want you to remember this, boys and girls, something you will never forget. The next time somebody says millions of years ago, I want you politely and nicely, you put up your hand and say, excuse me, were you there? Can you remember that?
Okay. So, given what we knew about Ken Ham, when we found out that he was actually to be the keynote speaker at the Texas Homeschool Coalition's annual convention in the Houston area this August, we decided that this is something worth speaking up about. Not to prevent him from exercising his right to speak his views, I'd like to make absolutely clear. We're not trying to shut him down, we're not trying to deny his right to free speech, we're just trying to provide a counter-demonstration and educate the public about what a religious extremist Ken Ham is and the underhanded techniques that he uses to spread his message. So the podcast I referred to earlier, I'll just play a couple of clips from that.
Actually, well, I just wanted to kind of, you touched on a pretty good point earlier about, you and Alondra both, that when we're talking about evolution here, evolution is so much more than just, I think it's important to realize that it's not just one aspect of, one specific science. It's not just, one thing that you just spend 2 weeks in biology class on and that's it. As far as how much it pervades almost all sciences. I mean, you look at not just our medical, not just the field of medicine and human physiology, but neurology, the way our brains operate, psychology. Here in Houston, here at Oasis, I'm actually here right now. We actually, one of the big things we talk about a lot is how much understanding evolution and understanding the way that we evolved, the way the environment that our ancestors evolved in, how much that just sheds an incredible amount of insight into who we are as people, why we do the things we do, why we behave the ways we do, and how you can live a better life and be a better person through understanding, really understanding the principles of how evolution happened. And you look at, and then of course, there's a good saying, I forget who coined the term, who actually said it initially, but without evolution, biology is nothing but butterfly collecting. You look at geology, cosmology, paleontology, virtually any realm of sciences is in some way tied in with evolution. And of course, once you start introducing young Earth creationism, then you're really talking about undermining almost every single aspect of science.
All right, that was one clip, and I'm just going to play one more clip right here. By the way, I don't mean to try and take quotes out of context or anything like that. I actually invite everyone to actually check out the whole thing. You'll see why later. Actually, I encourage that. But here's the second clip.
I think one thing that also we want to make clear here, this is certainly not about trying to suppress religious freedoms. It's not about persecution. It's not about trying to prevent them from having the freedom of speech. I mean, what we're talking about here is educating the public about what these people are about, what kind of person Ken Ham is, what kind of an organization it is that he operates. We're talking about, I think a lot of people perhaps in the Christian community, if they hear, oh, well, he's a Christian, then, oh, he's on our side. I mean, I think we need to put the word out, even make it, to where people within the Christian community understand just what an extremist and a crackpot this guy is. And it's really what I think what we're looking for here is really just about education. Especially the general public. If we can't get through to the hardcore fundamentalist homeschoolers, well, so be it. But at the very least, what we can do is get the word out to the general public.
So, it didn't take long for Ken Ham to catch word of this, because this was put up on YouTube. And within a matter of days, he actually personally penned a response which was posted to the Answers in Genesis website. So as you can see there, the title, Angry Atheists Display Intolerance of Christianity. Some of the excerpts of this very lengthy and very over-the-top article included, so he described it as a recent video of an atheist chat session on the internet is a must-watch for all Christians. Every pastor, Christian leader, homeschooler, teenager, Christian parent, and in fact all Christians need to see this video chat featuring a number of very intolerant atheists, and some are hateful and angry. Of course, other than the hateful and angry and intolerant part, I agree with that completely. He also described it as 2 hours of intolerance, ignorance, sanctimony, and abuse by atheists. Described it as hatred of biblical Christians, hatred of the Bible, ignorance extremism, fighting against freedom of religion. He even accused us of not understanding science. Okay, so I'm just going to scroll. I'm just going to scroll through this. You can get an idea of just how long this this thing is. I mean, it's very lengthy, he actually cut up some clips from the podcast. Uploaded. There's me. Uploaded them onto their website. Oh, okay, well, this is interesting, actually. He actually saw fit to conclude the article by publishing biographical information about all of us who were part of the chat, such as hometowns, occupations, online aliases, sexual orientations, and organizational affiliations.
Free press.
Yeah. So, answers in Genesis. Of course, I suppose I should actually thank Mr. Ham for inflating my credentials and crediting me with being Vice President of the Humanist Association of Texas, which does not, in fact, actually exist. He followed that up with even another full-length article saying, let's use the recent atheist attack to teach more kids the truth. In this, he actually had some links to some free materials that they were making temporarily free to the public for a limited time as a result of this attack. Now, one of them happened to be free science quiz download. So, shortly after this happened, at Aaron Ra's behest, Houston Atheists issued a challenge for Ham to engage Aaron Ra in a formal debate on evolution versus young earth creationism. We submitted the challenge via the Answers in Genesis website, and Aaron Ra also posted it publicly to his website, Atheists Co. So, I won't read the whole thing in the interest of time, but I'm actually going to post links to all this stuff later. And I encourage you to read it. It's not a long read. And the reason I do is because, of course, Ken Ham decided to respond in typical fashion. He declined our challenge. And, let me pull that up. Yeah, so, first of all, instead of accepting our challenge, he actually wanted someone other than himself to debate someone other than Aaron Ra. So, also, to no surprise, he characterized our invitation as unprofessional and nasty. He also seemed to take offense that we did not provide him with the name of the person sending the letter, which is rather amusing since, as we've already seen, he seems to have a habit of digging up whatever personal information he can find when he actually is provided with names. So, yeah, at this point, with Ken Ham refusing to engage Aaron Ra in a debate, we are now in the process, we as in Houston Atheists, are now in the process of planning our own event during that same time frame with speakers of our own who will present the rational side of the argument. What evolution is, why it's important, and why it's true. A debunking pseudoscience conference, so to speak. And of course, as well, we will be doing a counter demonstration at the homeschooling conference itself. So that's it. If you are interested in getting involved or helping out with our efforts, please let me know. Thank you.
Is that Homeschool Coalition, is it a religiously oriented one, or are they having not religious?
Well, I'll put it this way. All three of their main speakers are fundamentalist Christians. If you look at their website, I mean, they don't, they're not really necessarily all open about that they are religiously oriented. But yeah, they certainly don't make a secret out. I mean, they clearly are a very religiously oriented group. So.
When is that?
August 1st through 3rd in the Woodlands. Oh, Ellen.
Can you get some business cards made up with your new handle?
Yeah, that'd be nice. All right. I think, yeah, we're kind of short on time here, so, but yeah, thanks for listening.
Thanks, Vic. Although I wish you hadn't showed the picture of the Ark, because I kind of actually want to go see it. Looks like it could be fun. Okay.
Where is that museum?
Oh, Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Yeah,
Okay, 'cause there's
Kentucky.
something.